Welcome to Restoria. I'm Jenna, and this is your cozy corner for gentle bedtime stories. Each night, I'll share peaceful tales made to quiet your thoughts and guide you softly into sleep. So settle in, get comfy, and let the story carry you into rest. The story tonight is called Maple Hall, Chapter 1, Room 203. Nina stands in the middle of room 203, hugging her suitcase with both arms. The room is smaller than she expected, but in a cozy kind of way. The floorboards creak when she shifts her weight, and the late afternoon sun spills in through the tall window, landing in warm stripes across the bed. There are two of everything: 2 desks, 2 beds, 2 sets of shelves. One bulletin board is already half full, pinned with photos and postcards and a sticker that says "Take it slow." The other side is empty, waiting. Her side, she picks the bed closest to the window. Outside, the maple trees glow with early autumn, gold, rust, and soft red shimmer in the wind. Students pass beneath them in loose sweaters and mismatched scarves, their voices soft and scattered like bird chatter. Nina sets her suitcase down. The zipper catches once, then opens. Inside, books, too many sweaters, 3 boxes of tea, and a folded quilt from home. She lifts it out and smooths it over the bed. Pale yellow, stitched with stars. It smells faintly of cedar and laundry soap. She unpacks slowly, books on the shelf, tea bags in a wooden box on the desk, a small framed photo of her cat. The door opens. A girl walks in with headphones around her neck and a tote bag full of tangled chargers and potted plants. "You must be Nina," she says, smiling. "I'm Juno," Nina nods. "Hi." Juno tosses the tote onto her bed and immediately starts untangling the cords. "You already unpacked?" "Sort of. Good move picking the window side," Juno says, grinning. "Best light on campus, I bet." She pulls out a tiny succulent in a blue mug and sets it on the windowsill. "I have a few more of these," she adds. "They like music, so I play them playlists sometimes. I hope that's okay." "Yeah," Nina says. "That's sweet." They move around each other easily, not too careful, not awkward, just new. By evening, they've strung fairy lights along the ceiling. Juno pulls out a little speaker and puts on something soft piano and rain sounds with the occasional chime. Nina sits cross-legged on her bed, sipping chamomile tea from her favorite mug. Juno leans against her desk, wearing socks that don't match and holding a book upside down. I don't usually read, she admits, flipping the book right side up, but this place makes me feel like I should. Nina laughs, a small, surprised sound. Same. Rain begins sometime after 9, just a mist at first, then the soft patter of drops against the glass. They both stop what they're doing to listen. The room glows gold with fairy lights. The air smells like tea and the faint green of Juno's plants. This feels nice, Nina says. Juno nods. It really does. They sit in silence a little longer. 2 new students, 2 warm mugs, 1 room that already feels just a little bit like home. Outside, the lanterns flicker along the path. Leaves tumble gently through the rain, and somewhere down the hall, someone laughs softly in another room. Everything is beginning just the way it should. Chapter 2, Coco and Quiet. The first week moves in a quiet rhythm. Mornings are cool and drowsy. Nina wakes before her alarm most days. The soft rustling of trees and the hum of campus life drifting in through the open window. Room 203 has found its shape. Nina's desk holds a neat stack of textbooks, a favorite pen, and a mug that always has something warm in it. Juno's side of the room is a tangle of color posters, dried flowers, a sweater thrown over the back of her chair. The fairy lights stay on even during the day. Classes have begun, but softly, introductions, syllabi, nervous smiles, and shared directions between buildings. Nina likes her classes: literature, philosophy, something called botany of belonging. Her notebooks are already full of careful notes and soft sketches, but her favorite moments still happen after the sun sets. On Wednesday night, rain taps again at the windows. The hallway smells faintly of soup and soap. Juno pulls out a tin of cocoa mix and heats milk on their tiny dorm kettle. Cocoa night, she says, a tradition starting now. They sit on the floor, back against the beds, legs stretched out. The mugs are mismatched. The cocoa is too hot and perfect. Juno hums softly to the music coming from her speaker. Nina sips carefully, watching the lights flicker across the walls. You like it here? Juno asks. Nina nods. Slowly. Yeah, more than I thought I would. Me too. They don't say more for a while. The quiet isn't awkward. It stretches, warm and calm. Somewhere outside, someone bikes past, their tires whispering over the wet path. The leaves rustle like paper. Juno tips her head back against the bed frame. My last roommate was loud, she says. Nice, but always needed to fill the silence. Nina doesn't answer right away. Then, I like this better. Juno smiled. Me too. The room smells like cocoa, rain, and rosemary from one of Juno's plants. Nina's shoulders feel light. Later, when they each climb into bed, Juno says, let me know if I ever talk too much. You won't, Nina says, pulling her quilt up to her chin. And then they're both quiet again. The kind of quiet that wraps around you like a second blanket. Outside, the rain continues. Soft, steady. In room 203, the lights glow low, and sleep arrives, not suddenly, but like it's been walking beside them all along. Chapter 3. Between classes. By the third week, the campus begins to feel like a place Nina has always known. Not because she's memorized every building or made dozens of friends she hasn't, but because of the small things. The way the path near the science building smells like moss in the morning. The creak of the third stair in the library. The quiet nods exchanged with the professor who always brings a kettle and a box of tea to early lectures. Nina starts to keep a little notebook in her pocket, not for assignments, but for fragment-steady moments that feel like her. A red leaf with a perfect hole in the middle, a laugh overheard in the quad, the way Juno hums when she waters her plants. Room 203 has grown full of lived-in calm. There's a soft pile of shared mugs on the shelf. A new plant Juno rescued from the student center. A string of postcards clipped to the lights. Some days they pass each other like sleepy stars. Just a wave, a smile, a scribbled note left on the desk. There's banana bread in the common room. Get it while it's warm, Jay. Other days, they eat dinner together, cross-legged on the rug, dipping grilled cheese into tomato soup and laughing over nothing at all. Between classes, Nina finds her own quiet corners. A bench in the garden where the wind always moves. A hidden nook behind the music hall, where she can hear faint piano scales through the wall. It's not that everything is perfect. Some days are heavy. Some mornings come too early. But now she has places to land. One Wednesday, Nina stops by the cafe behind the library. It's small, nearly hidden, with a chalkboard menu that always includes something unexpected: pear and sage scones, spiced fig muffins. She orders Earl Grey with milk and honey and sits by the window with her book open but unread. Outside, students walk past in slow pairs, leaves crunching beneath their boots. Inside, the cafe plays a vinyl record that crackles softly between songs. Juno walks in just as Nina is finishing her tea. "I thought I'd find you here," she says, plopping into the chair across from her. "You did?" "Yeah, you're starting to have favorite places." Nina smiles. "I think I am." Juno pulls out a cookie wrapped in a napkin. "Brought you this? Cinnamon something. I forgot the name." They sit for a while, sharing the cookie, watching the world move past the window, not rushing, just being. And when they walk back to Maple Hall together, the path feels softer under their feet, like it's known them all along. Chapter 4. Laundry Room Evenings. The laundry room in Maple Hall smells like warm cotton and lavender dryer sheets. The light hums a little, always on. The floor tiles are cool, the kind that echo lightly under bare feet. Nina finds herself there on Friday evenings, not because she has to, but because she likes how quiet it is. She brings a book she barely opens, folds to close, slowly watches the world shift outside the small window near the ceiling. Sometimes she's alone. Sometimes she's not. Tonight, she isn't. Juno wanders in barefoot, carrying a basket full of tangled socks and pajama pants. "Didn't know you were down here," she says, setting the basket on the counter. "Didn't know you were coming either," Nina replies. They smile. It doesn't feel like a coincidence, just a small ritual they hadn't noticed forming. The machines rumble gently. One dryer clicks every now and then, like a tired heartbeat. Juno hops up onto the counter and sits cross-legged, flipping through a half-filled sketchbook. "I like it down here," she says. "It's quiet, like the world's paused." Nina nods. "And everyone's a little softer when they're doing laundry." They sit for a while, the kind of while that doesn't need a clock. Eventually, Nina pulls a pair of socks from the dryers, but Mismatched then tosses them to Juno. These belong to your vibe more than mine. Juno grins, already pulling them on. Perfect. When the dryer cycle ends, they fold close together. Slow, careful, saying little. Nina finds herself thinking that this too is part of college life, these small, unnoticed moments that hold more comfort than the big ones. Before they head upstairs, Juno stops and tilts her head. We should make cocoa. We always make cocoa. Exactly. They leave the laundry room with warm arms and easy steps. Up in room 203, the fairy lights glow softly. The windows are fogged just a little. The kettle hums. 2 mugs are filled. 2 blankets pulled close. Outside, the campus quiets. 1 light at a time. And Nina realizes as she wraps her hands around her cup that she has begun to collect something beautiful. Not memories exactly, but something gentler. Moments that don't need to be remembered because they're still here, still warm, still hers. Chapter 5, Stormlight. It begins with a low rumble in the sky, softer than thunder, more like a reminder, the kind that rolls through your chest before you even look up. By the time dinner ends, the rain has begun. Nina walks back to Maple Hall with her jacket pulled over her head. The trees sway gently. Leaves tumble across the path. The campus glows under wet lamplight, blurred at the edges. Juno's already in their room, sitting cross-legged on her bed with a blanket around her shoulders and her laptop playing soft jazz. I made us tea, she says, holding up 2 mugs. It's sleepy, I think. Something with apple. Perfect, Nina says, dropping her bag and peeling off her damp jacket. The wind outside whistles gently through the hallway window. They sit together, sipping slowly. Outside, the storm picks up. Rain patters harder against the glass. The lights flicker once, then again, then everything goes dark. Nina freezes, cup halfway to her lips. Juno doesn't. Oh, a blackout. She sets her cup down and reaches into the drawer beside her bed. A small tin, 3 candles, a lighter that clicks on the 3rd try. The first flame glows golden, then another, then a 3rd. The room flickers into warmth again. Prepared much? Nina says. Always. Juno grins. Maple storms do this sometimes. I was here last spring. They sit in the candlelight, shadows dancing gently on the walls. The storm outside deepens, but the room feels calm. Still, a soft knock at the door. It's a girl from down the hall. Hey, we're making a blanket pile in the hallway. You in? Juno turns to Nina. No words needed. Let me grab the cookies, Nina says. 10 minutes later, the hallway is glowing with battery candles and fairy lights dragged from half a dozen rooms. Students sit in pajamas, wrapped in quilts, leaning against each other like lazy stars in a sky made of pillows. Someone strums a guitar. Someone else tells a story about sneaking bread rolls from the dining hall. Nina passes around cookies. Juno adds a blanket to the growing pile. Laughter rises, quiet and bright. It's not loud, not wild, it's just good. At some point, someone hands Nina a cup of warm cider. She doesn't know who. It doesn't matter. The storm outside feels far away now, like background music, like rhythm. Juno leans over. This feels like a story we'll remember. Nina smiles. Or maybe it's one we're still writing. When they finally return to room 203, the candles are still glowing softly. Juno pulls the blanket over her shoulders. Nina changes into warm socks. They don't say goodnight. They don't need to. Rain taps gently against the glass. The power stays out, but everything is lit anyway. Chapter 6. 1 cup left. The lights return sometime before dawn. A soft hum, then a blink. The quiet sigh of the fridge waking up, and the tiny clink of a light turning itself back on. But room 203 stays dim. Nina wakes slowly, the quilt pulled up to her nose. The storm has passed. The window is open, a crack, and fresh air moves through like a breath that hasn't been held in a long time. Juno is still asleep, turned away, her hair tucked beneath the blanket like a secret. Nina tiptoes into the common kitchen. There's one clean mug left in the drying rack. Her favorite, dark blue, chipped at the rim. She boils water, her slippers whispering across the tile floor. The tea she chooses smells like orange peel and clove. It steeps in slow swirls. Outside, the sun is just thinking about rising. She carries the mug back to the room where the candles are still faintly melted on the windowsill. The fairy lights blink softly back to life. At her desk, she opens her notebook. Not the one for Class, the little one. The one she writes in when she's just feeling. She writes, "Last night felt like the middle of something. Not an ending, not a beginning, just the part where you realize you're exactly where you're supposed to be." She closes the notebook and looks around. The sweaters draped on chairs, the plant leaning toward the light, the sound of Juno breathing, steady and soft. Her eyes sting a little, not sad, just full. She sips the tea slowly, lets the moment stretch out. Later, when Juno wakes, she'll smile. They'll make toast. They'll walk to class under trees, still dripping from the night. But for now, Nina stays wrapped in the hush. One cup of tea, one quiet room, one heart that feels finally at rest. Chapter 7. The Garden Between Things. It's the kind of afternoon that feels like a pause. Not rushed, not slow, just the space between. Nina walks through the campus garden with a scone in one hand and her little notebook in the other. It's warm today for late autumn. The sun filters through the trees in soft gold, and the air smells like leaves blown and something a little like cinnamon. The garden is quiet. A few students sit on benches or tucked into corners, reading or resting. A professor hums while clipping herbs near the gate. Nina finds her favorite Spotan old stone bench beneath a tree that's half bare, half brilliant. She sits, breaks her scone in half, opens her notebook. She doesn't write anything right away. She watches a squirrel with half a leaf in its mouth, someone's scarf trailing like a ribbon, a bee, slow and stubborn, working its way through the last flowers of the season. She breathes, then writes. The world is not always loud. Sometimes it speaks in small, soft ways. Sometimes it just sits beside you and waits. Juno appears 10 minutes later, carrying 2 mugs from the cafe. "I guessed," she says, handing one over. "You always do." They sit in the sun, shoulder to shoulder, the kind of closeness that doesn't need to be named. "I don't want this season to end," Nina says. "It won't," Juno answers. "It just becomes something else." They stay until the light begins to tilt. Back in Maple Hall, they kick off their shoes and light the fairy lights, Juno starts a playlist. Nina changes into her softest sweater. Later, they cook something simple in the common kitchen: noodles, butter, a bit of thyme. They eat on the floor. When the sky darkens, the window glows with the last trace of gold. Nina writes one more note in her book. Today felt like a held breath, and I think the world exhaled just for us. She closes the notebook. Juno turns off the music, and for a moment, nothing moves at all, except time, gently, exactly the way it should. Chapter 8. Lights on the ceiling. The hallway is quiet. Just the soft shuffle of slippers and the hum of the heater kicking in. Maple Hall has settled for the night. Nina brushes her teeth with the door slightly ajar. She can hear someone 2 doors down laughing through a mouthful of toothpaste. It makes her smile. Back in room 203, Juno is already in bed, curled up with a podcast, murmuring through one earbud. The fairy lights stretch across the ceiling, casting soft dots of light. Stars in a dome-sized sky. Nina pulls on her flannel pajama pants, shrugs into her favorite hoodie, and crawls under the quilt. The room smells faintly of lavender, warm laundry, and tea. I left you milk, Juno mumbles, not opening her eyes. Nina looks there. On her desk is a mug, still warm, with cinnamon dusted on top. Thanks, she drinks slowly. The warm milk settles everything. Her thoughts quiet. Her breath evens. She sets the mug down. The rain starts again. Just a soft tap at the window. Not a storm. Just enough to fill the room with rhythm. She lies down. Juno sighs in her sleep. One of the succulents on the windowsill tilts slightly in the breeze. Nina stares at the lights on the ceiling. Each little bulb is familiar now, like a name she doesn't need to say aloud. She thinks about the first day, her hands wrapped around her suitcase, the quilt from home, the soft voice that said, "You must be Nina." She thinks about cocoa nights, blanket piles in the hallway, the note Juno once left on her desk. You're doing great, even if you don't feel it. She thinks about the garden, the laundry room, the kettle in the corner. She doesn't try to fall asleep. She lets herself drift, and as she closes her eyes, the room holds her. not with grand gestures, just with the gentle certainty that she belongs. And sometimes that's all anyone needs to dream well. The light hums on the ceiling, the storm whispers outside, and Nina sleeps wrapped in quiet. Home at last.